I mean, I swear, they're creating their own problem. That's the funny part. They're like, oh, people are scared that we're gonna ban firearms, so people are buying them up. It's like, no fucking shit. No fucking way. Maybe it's not like these people's fears are completely unjustified. It's becoming a self-fulfilling. I wonder if this was even leaked. If this is actually an official document and isn't just like a hoax. This could have been a hoax. It could, until we find out more. But I wonder if this were true. Is this like really a leaked document, or is this just like, are they trying to start shit? I mean, pretty much, what are they going to do? Outlaw conservatism? Oh, whatever. Alright, such activity combined with a heightened level of extremist paranoia has the potential to facilitate criminal activity and violence. During the 1990s, right-wing extremist hostility toward government was fueled by the implementation of restrictive gun laws such as the Brady Law that established a 5-day waiting period prior to purchasing a handgun, and the 1994 Violent Crime Control and Law Enforcement Act that limited the sale of various types of assault rifles, and federal law enforcement's handling of the confrontations at Waco, Texas, and Ruby Ridge, Idaho. And why shouldn't that anger us? I mean, regardless of what they were doing at Waco, Texas, they try to say, okay, well, what was it? The warrant was for a firearms violation, but they claim that he was a pedophile. I don't know if that's true or not. But even if it were, the way to protect the children from him wasn't to incinerate them all. I mean, it's obviously a clear display. Whether you support the people in Waco, I think the people at Waco, they seem like nut jobs. But that doesn't mean I support that the government can go in and, well, pretty much execute them. Alright, let's move on. On the current front, legislation has been proposed this year requiring mandatory registration of all firearms in the United States. Similar legislation was introduced in 2008 in several states proposing mandatory tagging and registration of ammunition. It is unclear if either bill will be passed into law. Nonetheless, correlation may exist between the potential passage of gun control legislation, increased hoarding of ammunition, weapons stockpiling, and paramilitary training activities among right-wing extremists. I mean, how dumb are these people? Obviously, if people think, or, anticipating that certain firearms are no longer going to be available, obviously that would explain an increase in sales for those particular types of firearms. I mean, how stupid can they be? It doesn't mean that we're necessarily preparing for World War III, although, I'm sure in some cases it's true. More power to them, huh? Alright. Open source reporting of wartime ammunition shortages has likely spurred right-wing extremists as well as law-abiding Americans. Wait. Let me read that sentence again. Open source reporting of wartime ammunition shortages has likely spurred right-wing extremists as well as law-abiding Americans. So right-wing extremists are different from law-abiding Americans. Now, at first you're probably thinking Timothy McVeigh, yeah, but let's go back to the definition. This is where I want to go back to the definition of a right-wing extremist. A definition of right-wing extremist is not based on action. It is not based on action. It is based on ideology. And this is where it gets dangerous. Right-wing extremism in the United States can be broadly divided into those groups, movements, and adherents that are primarily hate-oriented, based on hatred of particular religious, racial, or ethnic groups, and those that are mainly anti-government, rejecting federal authority in favor of state or local authority, or rejecting government authority entirely. It may include groups and individuals that are dedicated to a single issue, such as opposition to abortion or immigration. So right now, their definition of right-wing extremism is ideological. It's not based on any kind of criminal activity. I mean, this is by their own report. I mean, you can check it out. Maybe either it's poorly written, and that's not their intent, and maybe that's not, but, you know, if they're going to make reports like this, they better be very, very careful on how they word things, because then, after okay, so I think that, you know, I reject federal authority in favor of state, well, in balance with state and local authority. So now, based on an ideology, now we go back and keep this in mind when I read this sentence. Open source reporting of wartime ammunition shortages has likely spurred people that are anti-government as well as law-abiding citizens. Right? Let's fill in right-wing extremism with someone who thinks, here, let's do open source reporting of wartime ammunition shortages has likely spurred people that think that the state should have equal rights with the national government as well as law-abiding citizens, since, you know, I guess we're not considered law-abiding citizens, to make bulk purchases of ammunition. These shortages have increased the cost of ammunition, further exasperating right-wing extremist paranoia and leading to further stockpiling activity. Both right-wing extremists and law-abiding citizens, you know, there's a difference, even though right-wing extremism is just an ideology by their admission, share belief that rising crime rates attributed to a slumping economy make the purchase of legitimate firearms a wise move at this time. Gee, you think? Weapons rights and gun control legislation are likely to be hotly contested subjects of political debate in light of the 2008 Supreme Court's decision in the District of Columbia versus Heller, in which the court reaffirmed an individual's right to keep and bear arms under the Second Amendment to the United States Constitution, but left open to debate the precise contours of that right. Shall not be infringed. That's my input. Because debates over constitutional rights are intense, and parties on all sides have deeply held, sincere, but vastly divergent beliefs, violent extremists may attempt to co-opt the debate and use the controversy as a radicalization tool. Okay. Well, we'll be through this soon, so hopefully there's not much more here. We'll get through it. Try to get through it pretty quickly. Perceived threat from rise of other countries. Right-wing extremist paranoia of foreign regimes could escalate or be magnified in the event of an economic crisis or military confrontation. Harkening back to the New World Order conspiracy theories of the 1990s. The dissolution of communist countries in Eastern Europe and the end of the Soviet Union in the 1990s led some right-wing extremists to believe that a new world order would bring about a world government that would usurp the sovereignty of the United States and its Constitution. What Constitution? Thus infringing upon their liberty. Too late for that. The dynamics in 2009 are somewhat similar, as other countries, including China, India, and Russia, as well as some smaller oil-producing states, are experiencing a rise in economic power and influence. Fear of communist regimes and related conspiracy theories characterizing the U.S. government's role as either complicit in a foreign invasion or acquiescing as part of a one-world government, no way, plan inspired extremist members of the militia movement to target government and military facilities in past years. Law enforcement in 1996 arrested 3 right-wing militia members in Battle Creek, Michigan, with pipe bombs, automatic weapons, and military ordnance that they planned to use in attacks on nearby military and federal facilities and infrastructure targets. Right-wing extremist views bemoan the decline of U.S. stature and have recently focused on themes such as the loss of U.S. manufacturing capability to China and India, Russia's control of energy resources and use of these to pressure other countries, and China's investment in U.S. real estate and corporations as a part of a subversion strategy. It's funny, all these real concerns that America faces, they try to, laugh it all off as though it's a conspiracy theory, like, well, if you're worried about the state of the U.S., you might as well put on a tinfoil hat. Shit, I think for my next video I'm going to wear a tinfoil hat. Hopefully I remember that.